Hello and welcome to the FreeQMS video series on performing quality audits in FreeQMS. This video series assumes you have already signed up for FreeQMS, have enabled the Audits module, and have at least 2 users ready to perform audits. This video series will simulate a quality audit from start to finish. We attempt to cover different industries and regulatory standards in each video series. This video series will perform an audit of a drill press manufacturer to the ISO 9001 standard, particularly Chapter 8, Operation. This audit will be similar to the internal audits required of manufacturers by the ISO 9001 standard. Let's start by taking a look at our users. We will click the user's icon. For this video series, we have 2 users configured. The first is an Audit Manager. In a large company, there may be a dedicated manager for audits. In a small company, this may be the QA, or even engineering or ops manager. This user will create the audit and set up nonconformances for other users to work on. We have configured this user with Create, Edit, View permissions to the Audits module. Let's go back to the list. Our second user takes the place of a quality specialist, someone in an organization who will do the heavy lifting of processing and closing nonconformances. In the real world, this may be a designating expert within a quality department or an engineer that has expertise. Let's get started with our audit. We'll click the FreeQMS icon in the upper left to return to the home screen. We are already logged on as our Audit Manager user. This user has the ability to create audits. Let's click the teal color Audits icon. Here we can see a set of records created during the 2020 FreeQMS validation process. Records of these validations can be found by clicking the Validations icon from the home screen. Let's click Create Audit in the upper left. The Create Audit form collects similar information to other modules. We'll complete this form step by step. For the title, we'll write 2020 Internal Audit ISO 9001 Chapter 8 Operation. The audit type is going to be internal, and here for coordinator. Although we're creating this record as the Audits Manager, it will be a quality specialist in our department performing the audit and coordinating the record. We'll select the second user we showed during the introduction. Here for the Audit T, we'll select our own company. A supplier record for our company is automatically created when we sign up for FreeQMS. And here for the Audit T location, we'll select our own location. For the Audit T contact, now, this can be anyone in the organization, but as a best practice, should be the person who will represent the company being audited. We're going to select an imaginary user, John Operator, who represents a subject material expert in the operations department. The additional Audit T information field is a field for notes. We will put, John Operator will host front room for operations department. Here's the auditor field. This is an internal audit, so we'll select our own company again. For the auditor contact field, we'll select our quality specialist user we created in the introduction. This person will perform the physical audit, review documentation, and create actionable observations and nonconformances within FreeQMS. Additional auditor information. This is another notes field. We'll put quality specialist will perform the audit. Explain independence. For this field, we'll put auditor is a quality specialist within the quality department who does not work directly with operations. This is an audit of operations and records outside of the daily responsibilities of the auditor. The importance of auditor independence will depend on which regulatory standards your company adheres to. Auditor independence falls somewhere between a best practice and a requirement depending on the standard. ISO 13485, for example, requires that auditors not audit their own work. The opening date will be today's date. Note the tooltip. The opening date may be different from the start date of the audit. This field represents the day of the opening meeting. The start date will be tomorrow's date, and the end date will be the day after tomorrow. The close date will be 2 days after tomorrow. Once again, note the tooltip. FreeQMS gives you the flexibility to record closing meetings on separate days from end dates. The report date is going to be 3 days after tomorrow. We want to give our auditor extra time to write a great report. Schedule notes is another notes field. We will put audit scheduled by internal audits procedure requiring at least 1 internal audit. See quality for more information. Here we have the legacy record ID field. Although this field will often be left blank by completely electronic corporations, in this example, we're going to act as if we still issue legacy numbers. We will put A1002 in this field. This is an example of an audit ID issued by a document control department. And here's the division field. The name of your divisions will vary depending on your company setup and how many divisions are enabled. We will place this record on the global division so it's visible to everyone. Now let's click Create. Great, our audit record's created. But before we move on to the next partner series, there are a few more important steps. We can see here FreeQMS is a form with sections. The top part controls basic information. This is called a record card in some other systems. The next portion, called Audit T, contains information about the auditee. The next portion, Auditor, contains information on the auditor. The audit agenda stores information about the scheduling of the audit. Before handing this record off to our quality specialist, we need to add items to the audit scope. The audit scope contains two areas, audit items and regulation standards. Additions to these fields control available options when creating audit activities later in the series. Let's add an audit item. These are items we will be auditing. Let's click the Add Audit Items button. The resulting form allows you to add up to 5 audit items at once. More than 5 audit items can be added by clicking Save at the bottom and launching the form again. For now, we'll enter a single item, Operations Procedures. This is a generic example for this video series meant to represent standard operating procedures and work instructions used in the operations department. Let's click Save Audit Items. Next, we'll click Add Regulations or Standards. The resulting form works just like the Audit Items form. We will add the standard for this audit by entering ISO 9001 Chapter 8 Operation and click the Save Audit Standards button. The regulations form, like the audit items form, allows many regulations to be added. In the real world, it's quite likely that a company that sells in multiple markets will be subject to many different regulations. At this point, we've completed our initial audit form. It's time to hand this record off to our quality specialist to begin the audit and record any observations or nonconformances, which will begin part 2 of our video series.